it's Jenny with Jenny's Wreath Boutique, and today you're going to learn the 8 things we wish we would have prepared for before starting our Etsy shops. And by we, I mean me and Kate Hayes. This video is in collaboration with her channel. I'm going to tell you 4 things I wish I would have prepared for, and then after you're done watching this video, head on over to her channel and she will tell you 4 things she wishes she would have prepared for. And I will link her channel in the description box below. The first thing I wish I would have prepared for was the slow times. Even if you have a fully optimized Etsy shop, you have all your SEO, search engine optimization, all good to go, great pictures and all the things that I teach you in a lot of my other videos, even if you have all of that, it's gonna be slow. You might start off with a big launch, like, yay, here's my shop, and get some initial sales and get you off to a great start, but even then you'll have a dip. And there's also seasonal dips, and it'll feel like a roller coaster. And sometimes it's easy to get discouraged, but don't get discouraged. If you know in advance that you're gonna have slow times, it's a lot easier to deal with because there will be times where you get really busy also. One lesson I learned is don't compare your beginning to someone else's middle. And that is a quote from 𝗗𝗜𝗦𝗧, and I love it. I think it's so relatable. When I first started my Etsy shop, it was incredibly slow, and part of that was because I didn't know what the heck I was doing. If I would have known what I know now, obviously it would have been off to a better start. But you know, when you know better, you do better. It could have been really discouraging, and sometimes it was. But when your shop is slow, because there will be slow times, use your time wisely. When your shop is slow, you can use that as an opportunity to improve it. You can work on new designs, so you'll have more listings in your shop. You can improve your craft because as you keep doing it, you'll get better and better. Obviously, practice makes perfect. Another thing you could do is prepare for the upcoming season. On Etsy, they actually let you know what is trending and when you should start listing things for the upcoming season. So if you can get ahead of the game, that'll help out as well. You can also work on your SEO for your listings. I've got other videos that you can watch. I have a whole Etsy tips playlist. I will link that down below for you. And I've got other videos where I talk about all that. So use this opportunity to improve your listings, your keywords, and things like that. And another thing to do when times are slow is work on your social media, because that is a great way to keep driving traffic to your Etsy shop. So when seasons of slowness happen, because they will, especially in the beginning, work on getting all that other stuff going, because when your shop is busy, like mine is right now, you will wish you had done these things earlier, because when you're busy, you don't have time to work on all this other stuff. Speaking of what to do when things are slow, that leads me into the next thing I wish I would have prepared for when starting an Etsy shop. And that is the importance of an email list. Well, technically you don't need an email list to get started or anything, but if you have one, it will help you so much later on. And if you start doing this while your shop is small, you'll be so thankful you did it. You know that question, when's the best time to plant a tree? And the answer is 20 years ago. And what's the second best time? And that's now. Well, the same thing applies to an email list. Having an email list is so important because you don't own Etsy. Etsy actually owns your shop. If anything were to happen, you would have no way to get your customers back. But if you have an email list, you can still keep in contact with them. It's a great way to let your customers know of any coupons, sales, new product launches, and things like that, and keep them up to date. It's against Etsy's policy for you to take emails of your customers, but customers can opt in to your email list. And what I mean by this is give your customers a reason to be put on your email list. My reason for my customers to get on my email list is I offer them an incentive, which is a 10% off coupon. I have this in my shop announcement. I have it in every Etsy listing, and I haven't done this yet, but I've seen other people do it and it works great, is have it in one of your photos for the Etsy listing. So if you click on this link, you can get a 10% off coupon for your next purchase, and that's a great incentive. I don't know about you, but I click on those kinds of things all the time. I'm on so many email lists. I won't go into too much detail here about exactly how to set up an email list, but you can use a free service like MailChimp, and ConvertKit also has a free option that you can use, and you can look more into that. But an email list is really important, and it's easier to set it up when things are slow than when they're crazy busy, because it is a learning curve. It's also a great safety net to have just in case anything ever happens with your Etsy shop. The next thing I wish I would have been prepared for when starting an Etsy shop is the bad reviews. If you have an Etsy shop long enough, you will eventually get a bad review, and it can be gut-wrenching. I've had my Etsy shop for a little over 4.5 years now, and I can count on one hand the amount of bad reviews I've had, but I remember every single one of them, and it's the worst feeling ever. My first bad review I ever got was probably a year and a half after I started my Etsy shop, and I'd been out of service because I was on a camping trip. And so I get back, I finally get cell service again, I check on my Etsy shop, and I have a 1-star review. And it was mean, and it was full of things that were not true. And to be honest with you, I cried for 2 days. Ask my husband. It was horrible. But I did learn something very important from this review. First, I immediately responded. You can do a public response to reviews that are 2 stars or less. This was a 1-star. And I gave a very nice explanatory response publicly, and I thought, okay. And then I tried to work it out with the customer. My big mistake was that I responded publicly, because once you do that, the customer cannot change their review. This is so important, because I actually worked out the issue with the customer, and she ended up becoming happy, but she couldn't go back and change her review. So I was stuck with this awful review that wasn't true, and I couldn't do anything about it. If you do get a bad review, the first thing you want to do is immediately contact your customer privately to see what the real issue is, or things like that. And make sure you're not defensive and you're very, very kind. Try to put yourself in your customer's shoes, and that way you can resolve it in the best way possible. For example, I've gotten a bad review that was complaining about the size. The size was smaller than they had expected, so I got a bad review for that. Even though it was the exact same size, all of them are, it was the exact same size listed in the description of the item, but not all customers read the description. So what I did was I contacted the customer. I told them that I do measure every wreath before it heads out, but I understand that it can be hard to tell what size something is just from an online picture. And then, so I empathize with what they're going through, because it can be frustrating if you don't get what you're expecting. Even though I wasn't in the wrong, she was still disappointed. So I also offered her a 10% off discount, and she was happy. She actually changed her review into a 5-star review and raved about the customer service. So you can turn a bad situation into a great situation and have a customer for life. The best thing to do, obviously, is to prevent a bad review in the first place and prevent having unhappy customers. You always want to go above and beyond your customer expectations. So I also got a bad review a long time ago. It was my first year, and it was in the heat of summer, about a piece falling off their wreath. And I knew the wreath was perfect when it left, but it turned out the glue I was using didn't withstand heat as well as I had hoped. So a piece fell off. So I did the same thing. I contacted them. I gave them a discount. They were happy, and I improved my product by switching glue. I will link my favorite glue in the description. This doesn't happen with this glue that I have now, and I've never gotten that complaint again. So I took the criticism from the bad review and I used it to improve my product. Another great way to prevent a bad review is make sure your customer has all the information about a product as possible, either in the description or pictures. I prefer both because not every customer reads the descriptions. But if we're talking about the size, like wreaths, obviously people like different sizes for different purposes. So if I include pictures of the wreath like on a door or where it would be used, it's easier to show the size because it gives it some perspective. Or I'll hold the wreath so they can see how big the wreath is compared to a normal size person. And since doing that, I've actually cut down on return requests or things like that because they've known beforehand a better idea of what it is for size. Another thing that I did was I would go to other shops that were similar to mine, and I would read their reviews, and I would see what the customers were praising them for and what they were getting bad reviews for. So I noticed the trend. The bad reviews were usually for poor customer service and slow processing or shipping times. So I tried to make sure I had great customer service and faster shipping times. The biggest thing I wish I would have prepared for when starting my Etsy shop was shipping. That was the most intimidating thing for me, and it probably is for you too. I wish I would have used Etsy's shipping from the start. When I first started, I would buy a box from the UPS store, which was really expensive, and then I would package up my wreath, and then, which I was scared to do also, and then I would take it to the post office and pay way more than I should have. Lesson learned. I wish I would have used Etsy's shipping from the get-go. You will save about 20%, give or take, depending on the package. You will save about 20% off versus what you would pay for at the post office if you use Etsy's shipping instead. And it's so convenient. You just purchase it and print it right from your computer. So easy. You can use USPS or FedEx straight from your Etsy shop. It's fantastic. Another thing to think about is if you're shipping something that's smaller, I would always recommend USPS because it will be your cheapest option. If you're shipping something larger, like I sell wreaths, you would use FedEx because they ship larger things for cheaper than USPS does. I have a whole video all about how I package and ship my wreath orders. So if you want to watch that, I will link it below and I will add a card also you can click on. But I split mine up. My bigger things I ship FedEx and my smaller things I ship USPS. My favorite place to get shipping supplies is from Amazon. You know, there's so many different options. I get all my wreath boxes from Amazon. But if you ship something else, there are a lot of YouTube videos you can watch, probably for anything really, that will teach you how to package and ship your item. I'm only an expert on shipping wreaths, so you'll have to do other research for those things. You can also get a lot of free packing supplies from FedEx or USPS, depending on what you ship. Something that can be unexpected, especially if you're not used to it, is the shipping prices. Shipping prices can be really expensive. That's why it's so important to keep your packaging as small and efficient as possible. Also, play around with the shipping calculator. You can do this on Etsy, or you can do it on USPS or FedEx or whatever shipping carrier you're going to use. Play around with the shipping calculator. You can change the weight, you can change the size and the dimensions and the zip code for where it's going, and that will give you a better idea of how much each item is going to cost. Eventually, you'll ship so many, you'll know off the top of your head exactly how much it's going to cost for each item. On Etsy, you can either do a fixed price or you can do calculated shipping where you enter the size and weight of your package, and then Etsy will calculate the shipping costs for you and your customer will be charged the exact shipping. Or, and this is what I recommend, you can do free shipping, and Etsy has said they will prefer free shipping and your listings will be ranked higher, so I always recommend free shipping, but include that shipping price into the price of your item. And since we were playing around with the shipping calculator, you should have a pretty good idea about how much that will cost. Obviously, if you're shipping something from California to New York, it will cost more than if you're shipping from California to another spot in California. So shipping prices can really range, so I like to pick the average and add that into my item price. We talked about how you want to ship your items efficiently and in the smallest box as possible, but you also want to make sure your items are secure so that they don't break during shipping or get damaged in any way, but you also want to make sure it's lightweight. So depending on what you sell, this could vary greatly. For me, like I mentioned, I have a shipping video for wreaths, and I just use a pipe cleaner to secure my wreath to the box, and it doesn't really change the weight of the package. It's very efficient, and my wreaths do not move. So you'll want to look into this before you ship something. Just make sure it's really safe when it's being shipped. I hope these tips were helpful for you, and don't forget to head on over to Kate's channel to check out the other 4 tips and things we wish we would have been prepared for when starting an Etsy shop. And I have a question for you. I'd love to know the answer. Which one of these tips was the most helpful for you if you haven't started an Etsy shop yet? And if you have started an Etsy shop, What is one thing you wish you would have been prepared for when starting? All right, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to head over to Kate's channel. I will link it in the description. Bye.